Welcome back. So there was some pretty big news yesterday out of Ottawa. It was announced that 4 groups, including the Proud Boys, had been added to our list of terrorist organizations. And now, if you're not familiar with the Proud Boys, they're, kind of right-wing extremist type of group. And the other organizations, the other 3, also have links to extremism as well, ties to neo-Nazis, things of that nature. Proud Boys figured pretty prominently in the Capitol riots and the siege down in Washington, D.C. back on January 6th as well. These groups have a really bad reputation for the type of content that comes out of them. And this is actually, this designating them as a terror group has been a conversation for a while. And we actually spoke with Fareed Khan, founder of Canadians United Against Hate, back when it was learned that the government was mulling this over, saying, yeah, we're thinking we might designate them as a terror group. And now they've actually done it. So it only makes sense that we would have Fareed back on the program to chat about his reaction to this. And he joins me on the line now. Fareed, thanks so much for coming back on the program.
Hi, Jess. Glad to be back.
It's great to have you, as always. And first of all, were you surprised that the federal government went ahead with this move?
No, actually. This had been telegraphed for some time. Apparently, not apparently, but it was made very public. They were considering this back in the fall. And the process to get to the point of designating an organization a terrorist group is a long, drawn-out process, because not only do they have to deal with it within the Public Security Department, they have to consult with CSIS, they have to consult with the RCMP, the Justice Department also gets involved in it. So it's quite a long process, because clearly you don't want to go down the path of taking that decision and then find that you haven't crossed all your T's and dotted your I's.
Yeah, for sure. There's, as you said, there's a lot that goes into it. And there are repercussions, not just for the leaders of that group, but for individuals who may subscribe to, some of their sites or things like that. Now, under Canadian law, I'm reading here from a Global News piece on this reaction to yesterday's decision. It says, under Canadian law, it's a crime to knowingly participate in or contribute to the activities of a terrorist group. And property linked to listed groups can also be seized. So there are real consequences for everybody here now that this decision has been made.
Yes, definitely, there are. And, now we're waiting to see groups like ours and other Muslim organizations are waiting to see what else is going to happen, because the one group that I was hoping to see put on that list that wasn't there was the 3 percenters. And the 3 percenters are considered the most dangerous white supremacist group in Canada by the experts who study such things. They're armed. They are clearly Islamophobic in their hatred, as well as anti-immigrant, and they were not included on that list. So now I'm waiting to see whether we get any information about that group to be added to this list.
It seems like, there are so many organizations of concern, and, the ones that have been highlighted here and announced yesterday, this news designation, people are still watching to see if their social media channels will be impacted by this, by what this article from Global is saying is that, the Proud Boys, at least their sites are still up as of the time this was published. So, what kind of happens next? And as you've said, you and other organizations are watching to see where we go from here.
Yes, the announcement was made yesterday. Now we'll wait to see whether there are any teeth put behind this designation, because now that this designation has been made for not just the Proud Boys but the other 3 groups, we have to wait and see whether now law enforcement is going to get involved, whether the police are going to be approaching, for example, internet hosting companies that might be hosting their platforms, or merchants that might be selling their products, because all of that is now considered illegal. And now we want the results of this designation to actually come out in real life, where the price will be paid in terms of what they can do, what they can't do, as well as possibly seeing whether there's going to be any arrests, because apparently some of these individuals who live in Canada were down in the States during that January 6th insurrection.
That's very interesting to see the repercussions of this. And, in the conversations that you and I have had, Fareed, we often talk about the need for not just discussion, but action. And in your mind, does this, take a good step forward in terms of action on this?
Yes, it is a good first step, but more needs to be done because, as I said, there are other groups. There are more dangerous groups than the Proud Boys who are in Canada, and they were not included on the list. In addition, we need to go beyond this sort of stick approach. We have to also put some carrots out there to try and begin the process of de-radicalization. There needs to be public education, and there needs to be a government-led effort at the national level in conjunction with provincial governments to undertake an anti-hate and anti-racism strategy across the country. I mean, just last week we were talking on the 4th anniversary of the Quebec City mosque shooting, and the thing is, since that day 4 years ago, Islamophobia hasn't decreased; it's actually gone up. So we're clearly not getting it right, and we are calling on the government now that they've taken this step to go further, because there are people who are literally living in fear of these groups out there. And if you've got kids or if a member of your family who's vulnerable in some way, then you could potentially be a target. And those people are the ones that we should be thinking about when we're taking action against these groups.
Yes, we all deserve to live in a society where we don't have fear for our safety. And I'm glad that, we can have these conversations, Fareed, about these developments. And, I'm glad that we can be talking about this with these new designations. And I know that we'll be back in touch with you as the story continues to develop and we see what some of the repercussions are for this decision. And thank you so much for your time today, as always.
Well, thank you again for having me.
Anytime. Take care, okay?
Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. That's Fareed Khan, founder of Canadians United Against Hate, discussing the decision from the federal government yesterday to designate 4 groups, including the Proud Boys, as terrorist entities. We need to take a break for traffic and weather. We'll be back on the other side on Let's Talk London on 980 CFPL.